While watching David Letterman's new show on Netflix, I started to feel like something was off. The host and the guest were great, but I felt disconnected from the interview. Watch this and pay close attention to the editing and the cinematography.
I'd never met Jose, and I knew Miguel only a little bit. They got me a part as an extra, and it seemed like a lot of fun. And Miguel said, "You got to come to Hollywood, be an actor." And I was like, "Okay." So I got in my '76 Monte Carlo with rust all over it, and I drove it all night for 2 nights. I couldn't turn it off because it wouldn't start again. And I did. You'll understand this. I did a lot of television for a long time. I did one TV show called Sunset Beat.
The camera is literally spinning and jumping all around the host and the guest. The late night interview format is age old. Most interviews hold the same general shape. There's a wide shot that shows both the interviewer and the guest, and a closer single on each of them. When a guest starts telling stories on a talk show, the camera usually holds on them from one angle as much as possible, cutting only when necessary to show the host's reaction. When the camera finally holds on a shot for more than a few seconds on my next guest, I feel relieved just to have a moment to catch up and relax. It seems like the creators of My Next Guest are interested in setting themselves apart from the late night genre. It's clear they want to innovate on the interview format. But when a format has been established for as long as the interview format has, there's a reason why it's endured mostly unchanged. It works. The problem with My Next Guest is twofold. The first problem is that there are too many camera angles. For each new angle, we're more likely to notice the cut. My Next Guest uses so many that you never acclimate to all the angles, so even 30 minutes into the interview, some of the cuts still appear novel, drawing attention back to the editing and the cinematography. In an interview, the information we're interested in is simply what the host and the guest are saying, both verbally and non-verbally. The sooner the cinematography becomes invisible, the better we can focus on the communication. The second half of the problem is the editing. The number of camera angles wouldn't be a huge problem on its own. You could have that many camera angles and use them effectively, but the cutting between these angles often follows no discernible pattern or logic. It certainly doesn't follow the natural rhythm of the conversation. When you're making arbitrary cuts to arbitrary angles, we begin to notice the editing and the camera work, and it draws our attention away from the content of the interview.
During my presidency, I would travel all around the country, and I travel all around the world, and we made a habit of me having town halls with young people.
If the goal during an interview is for the editing to disappear, then there are 3 functional ways an editor can use a cut. The first is to show relevant information. This could be a reaction from the host or a cut to show the host while they're speaking. The second is using a cut as punctuation or emphasis.
I want something that you could talk about.
Right. Well, but obviously we would always have something to talk about because we're famous.
Right.
The third is to edit out mistakes or awkward pauses to improve the flow of conversation. Let's look at an example from Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, a show that I think has effectively innovated on the interview format.
I do really well with the 0 to 8 demographic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love me. Partly because I think my ears are big, and so I look a little like a cartoon character.
Right.
And then little kids love saying my name.
Right.
But it's
funny.
all one big name. It's Barack Obama.
Notice how this clip uses a variety of angles and cuts at a frequency similar to My Next Guest, but each cut and angle are meaningful. Let's break it down. The first 2 shots form the setup and punchline of a joke.
I do really well with the 0 to 8 demographic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they love me.
The division of the 2 shots helps to punctuate the joke, and the cut to the second angle also gives us a better view of Seinfeld's response. The second shot also serves as the setup for a punchline, which comes in the third shot.
Yeah, they love me. Partly because I think my ears are big, and so I look a little like a cartoon character.
Right.
Then the last 2 shots do the same thing.
And then little kids love saying my name.
Right.
But it's all one big name. It's Barack Obama.
What's important here is that a clear rhythm gets established, a rhythm that not only follows the conversation, but actually helps the guest and the host communicate more clearly. Now compare that to this clip from Letterman's show.
If you are getting all your information off algorithms being sent through a phone, and it is just reinforcing whatever biases you have, which is the pattern that develops. There was an interesting experiment, not a big scientific experiment, but just an experiment that somebody did during the revolution that was taking place in Egypt, in Tahrir Square.
The editing serves only to distract. The first 2 shots contain one complete thought that doesn't need to be divided.
If you are getting all your information off algorithms being sent through a phone,
The second cut makes sense as it acts as punctuation for that sentence.
algorithms being sent through a phone, and it is just reinforcing whatever biases you have, which is
But the one that follows is awkward and unnecessary.
And it is just reinforcing whatever biases you have, which is the pattern that develops. There was an interesting experiment.
We can see that these cuts aren't being made to cover up mistakes or to edit the conversation, because if they were, the editor surely would have removed Obama's here. The shot following that focuses on Letterman, but he's not reacting in a way that's interesting or relevant. He's just rubbing his nose. The cut back to Obama is fine, but we never should have cut away in the first place. I'm highlighting a particularly bad clip here. There's sections of My Next Guest where the editing is fine, but there are plenty of sections where the editing and cinematography just come across as a weak attempt to spice things up. There's a lot that's great about Letterman's new show. Letterman himself is a fantastic interviewer. He knows how to probe gently and he's sympathetic. I love that the documentary elements are being added and they help ground the guest stories in history. But throwing more camera angles and faster cutting onto an old format rarely improves things, and it shows us how easily more can be less. I think the producers of the show need to have more faith that the host and the guest are interesting enough to hold the audience's attention without flashy cinematography and editing. If you enjoy my content and want to help me keep making it on a regular basis, please consider checking out and supporting my Patreon. I'd also like to mention Artlist. It's how I license all the music that I use in my videos. It's affordable and it's great for podcasters, content creators, YouTubers, and if you use the link in my description, you'll get a couple months free when you sign up.